in front of a microphone, you're welcome too.
Trust me, I'm the opposite spectrum.
We got two extra mics. Though I can talk loud if somebody wants to grab the third. Hi, come on up. Okay. What's that? Well, we'll see how he does. Alright, well, we'll hunt you down after the panel.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's very appropriate, isn't it?
First of all, I just wanted to, who went to see the movie at the Pickwick last night? Yeah! Almost everybody. Who went back here? Okay, alright. There were two people sitting behind my daughter and I in the theater last night who were drunk and cursing through the whole movie, so it kind of colored our perception of it. I hope those people are not in this room. Fortunately, the theater was dark and could not see them. But they weren't even, if you're going to curse, at least make it clever. It's just cursing for cursing's sake. So, oh, is that you?
Having not seen the film yet, how spoiler heavy are we going to get?
I was going to ask, who hasn't seen it? Is anybody besides this gentleman who has not seen it? Wow, that's quite a few.
I don't care if there are spoilers. I don't care if there's spoilers. I do.
We're all going to see it. I'm going to go
The movie's pre-spoiled. It's horrible. No, I'm just kidding. I agree. Okay, we'll get to that. But okay, who is going to be offended by spoilers? Well, there's giant monsters and they fight with a robot. I mean, that's pretty much it for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So
it's Ultraman. It's Ultraman.
Yeah, there's another panel tomorrow, by the way. So, okay, so I guess we just got one who's. Anybody else have a concern about it? Because we can kind of avoid maybe some. I don't think there's anything really earth-shattering that happens in the movie that's going to spoil your appreciation that we might talk about. So, kind of get this out of the way first. Just kind of get a feel for the crowd. You get your standard 1, 2, 3, or 4-star rating. 4 being one of the best movies you've ever seen. It changed your life. 3 being, hey, it was good. It was great. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen. And 2 being fair, and of course 1 star being horrible. How many people here would give it the proverbial 4-star rating? They loved it. Okay, we got 5. All right, could you out the end just real quick so I get a better feel? So roughly half of the crowd in the 3-star rating. Okay, 2. Okay, and how many people hated it? Oh, there's no hate.
I thought you said you knew. I'm definitely the same range.
Oh, okay.
I'll explain that.
Okay. Anyway, I took some notes last night after I get done, just to have some things to talk about, because I had a feeling that I didn't know if anybody else was going to sign up for this. And I'm just going to give my kind of overall impression of the film, and then we'll just kind of open it up for everybody to speak whatever they want to say about it. I enjoyed it, had a good time, it was fun.
Pacific Rim panel,
except for the
but
clowns behind
just
me.
to let you know, there's going to be spoilers.
For the 2 hours and 20 minutes that it was, I thought it was a little long. It didn't need to be that long. The main thing that I was somewhat disappointed in is whenever you watch, typically when you watch a Godzilla movie, you have a clear idea of who the opponent is. You have a clear arc where you kind of build up, where you can't wait for this eventual monster battle. And your stakes, you're really invested in how all that's going to turn out. Where this was just like it kept one battle, another battle, another battle, and I didn't have a sense of that clear, sense of anticipation where you're rooting for somebody or not. Because the kaiju, the monsters themselves to me were kind of faceless and kind of generic, and they didn't really have a sense of what they were. I mean, if you think about Godzilla's foes like Mothra or Ghidorah or Anguillus, you have a clear idea what they look like, what they're all about. What the different monster powers are, and what their attributes are, and what their personalities are. And that was the main thing I thought was lacking from last night's movie. I kind of equated, it's like looking at, going back to the 70s, the Rocky films. The first 2 Rocky movies are great, and the third one eventually turned into, to me, Rocky movies became like a Godzilla movie. You're waiting for Rocky to fight the other monster by the end of the movie. but at least you had that sense of anticipation where you all built up and you're cheering by the end of the film. I didn't get that from Pacific Rim, and maybe that's just me. But other than that, I certainly wasn't bored. It was certainly loud. The subwoofer kicked in an awful lot during the film. So I don't know what it was like at Pickwick, but I saw it in the movie, but the sound was tremendous over there. It was insanely loud, but that's okay. That's part of what I do is sound mixing and music. So anyway, I will, before we turn it over to everybody else, do you guys want to chime in what you guys thought?
What did you think?
All right, my opinion, there are only two kinds of giant monster movies, those made in the tradition of King Kong and those made in the tradition of Godzilla. And I feel as though this was the first big-budget Hollywood movie made in the tradition of Godzilla, so that's definitely a step in the right direction. But kind of as what he was saying with the kaiju diversity, they all had different forms, but they were all kind of the same coloration. And I suppose they wanted all the monsters to feel as though they were cut from the same cloth, but I didn't really see that as necessary.
Okay. I am of the complete opposite spectrum of most people in this room. When I was sitting through the movie, very opening scene, the monologue at the very beginning had me hooked. I didn't want to see the movie at first. I got talked into going with my buddy Greg. And I thought, when it first started, the scene where the monsters destroying the bridge, all the good scenery and everything, I was like, you know what, I was wrong. And then the rest of the movie started. And it just felt really cliche. I mean, I counted like maybe 3 takes from Independence Day. I mean, we got the Independence Day speech. The end where the bomb goes off in the Jaeger and the aliens just kind of sitting there looking at it. I mean, come on, sorry. We saw cliche things from like Deep Blue Sea. You know, the guys talking, and I knew instantly as soon as he turned around he was going to get up and eat them. I don't know. I had more expectations from Guillermo del Toro, who was doing this film as a way to bring newer fans who might not be Godzilla fans, let's say all of us who've seen all the Japanese stuff. You got a lot of new kids who've never been into it, but if they see this movie, they see these trailers, they want their parents to take it to them, they learn about kaiju, gets them into the fandom, right? I feel like you might have done a disservice because now you're going to have older generations who are going to love this film, and they're going to look at, I want to see the monsters all CG, look like that, they look like those monsters, they got to fight those robots. I don't know that they had the same appreciation that all of us do for monsters that were rubber suit men, the things that we grew to love about the series. And the whole movie, I felt there was just so many cliche themes. He practically picked up the lead hero from Megaguirus, the female soldier whose family or friend was killed by a monster and now is on some mission of revenge and is going to take it out on the monsters by becoming a soldier and getting back at them. I mean, there's just a lot of cliche things in there that I thought it was going to go in one direction. I was expecting this is the world's response to monsters. You're going to get the different governments. You know, you have the Chinese Jaeger, the American Jaeger, you have, what were the other countries? They had a German
Australia.
one. Yes, Russian one. But that just kind of was there for a good 15 minutes, and then they're like, oh, we're shutting your program down. You know, do what you want while you still got some funding. So all the different Jaegers and everything, them being different country ones, I don't know. There's a lot of things that he could have done that I don't feel he executed properly. So when I saw the hands go up for the 4 stars and 3 stars, I knew I was actually on the complete opposite spectrum. There was good stuff like Idris Elba, great acting. It was nice to see. He was funny. The 1, Don't Ever Touch Me Again, the 2, Don't Ever Touch Me Again, that was awesome. And I thought that was hilarious. That was really good humor. The lead actor, while pretty kind of bland, not standout looking guy, was actually, filled the role very well. The brother thing, his brother gets ripped out of the Jaeger, very cool. I mean, there was a lot of things that kept it from being a I hate it type of movie, but I don't know that it's something I would really celebrate as much as say, like, I think I'm on like the other end of the spectrum with Cloverfield. I enjoyed Cloverfield. I didn't mind the shaky cam. I enjoyed the realistic take on it, and I feel like they lost a lot of that. It got very animated to me. So.
Yeah, if I can, a lot of people agree with you, obviously. If I can comment to that, I agree a lot of it was cliche and so on. And I was talking to Martin Alton in the hallway just before we came in here, and he kind of spoke to that, but he kind of put a little bit different perspective. He said, a lot of the stuff is cliched and there will be new to this generation, which you kind of acknowledge. And it's kind of, how many different ways can you tell this story without having some of those cliche elements in it? I mean, it's just like a James Bond movie or a Best movie, there's its formula. I mean, you always know what you're going to get when you walk in. But there certainly could have been ways. I don't disagree with any of your criticism. I guess I kind of took it in stride.
And that's exactly the way I feel a lot of people are going to do it. And that's a good thing for the movie. I'm glad that Guillermo del Toro is going to push this into a whole new generational thing. I feel though that what he was hoping to accomplish, I don't know. It might not do any harm at all. It might get people into it, but the way I saw it, it could do a little more harm than good. That's what people are going to expect. They're going to see generic video game looking monsters that are going to fight very, very good looking robots. And that was the other thing I kind of noticed. The CG was not as precise as like I expected it to be. There's a couple of scenes that just looked like cutaway scenes from a video game. So I mean that was one of my other gripes I failed to mention. But I mean there was good points to it. What you were saying about, you expect these types of themes out of a giant monster movie, but why is it they went with the Toho style ending? You got a girl and a guy who are interested in each other. You didn't go with the James Cameron ending where they fall in love, which is always good, but it just seems like a lot of these guys always end up getting stuck in the friend zone with each other. You got the guy and the girl who, they got this whole thing going on the whole time. She's peeking at him through the peephole in his door. That wasn't weird, but it was a good character. I really enjoyed her character. Actually, I felt like she managed to still be tough but remain feminine. You don't see that a lot. You usually get with this bodybuilding type of female who's like pretty one-dimensional. I thought she was a very three-dimensional character. She had a lot of different aspects. With her parents dying, that was very cool. But I think that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was probably the best handled character arc in the thing. I didn't really. Charlie Hunnam, who was the male lead, I think he's pretty bland. I saw him in one other movie called The Ledge, which is it's a thriller told from an atheist perspective. It's kind of an interesting movie. But he was pretty bland in that too. I just don't find him particularly. And I didn't really get. To your point, I really enjoyed the opening bits where these creatures are coming up out of the ocean. All that. I would have liked to see that movie.
That's exactly
with all the nations coming together and all of that, rather than you're cut off your funding. But look at this incredible facility that they have. The build these things. I'm thinking, they cut their funding. What did it look like before?
I can't imagine if you have where are the resources coming from after these nations stop their funding? I mean, come on. If I don't go to work for a week, I don't have gas, to get around. These guys are operating giant machines and paying people. I mean, that was kind of an aspect that I still didn't understand. I mean, you got to have a suspension of disbelief. We're talking about these people who, up until the monsters appear, it's basically our world. It's our same exact world until this rift is opened. These things start coming out, and then it seems like we have giant cities. It takes a lot of money to get through these. It takes a lot of money to get through this. You got all this other stuff, and then people develop plasma weapons, all this robot technology, things like that.
It's like you said, it required the suspension of this.
Exactly.
And to that point, this person over here, or maybe not, maybe to a different point.
And the toys too, yeah. There's things like that. I'm sure. I don't know if they had anything to do with the toys, but yeah, the research. Yeah, that was the behind the scenes thing.
Okay, maybe perhaps I missed that because one of the things that occurred to me is I never really had a sense of the Earth being in tremendous danger. Like, I didn't see enough impact of what these monsters were doing, creating to every people's everyday lives. It was felt kind of insulated from that. I think this hand went up first. When building the wall, yeah.
We should vote in the monsters. They opened up a lot of job opportunities.
Perhaps that's because we've had all the other kaiju for almost the last 60 years, and we used to do it over and over again. This is the first time we've seen this character, so there really wasn't enough time to bond with them and favorite what that is my thought on that. To your point, regarding Frank and the guy people in the genre, you think about it, think about the TV series. When I was a kid, it was good to see at least one Godzilla film once a month somewhere on the dial. Nowadays, you can't find it. And if you look at the video store, there's hardly anything there. If you look on Netflix, there's maybe 3 Godzilla movies instead of all of them. So it's more people, but it's probably what the only true goal of movies is going to be.
Maybe we'll get Monster Vision back. We can only hope.
Well, that could,
Yeah,
absolutely.
copy that.
And to your point, I kind of agree. I think it's part of the, I think 7, I was reading up on it last night just to take some notes today. There's 7 different monsters in this. And I'm sitting there racking my brain trying to remember, okay, I can't remember that one. I can't remember that one. And I think it possibly would have been better if they just concentrated on 1 or 2 or 3. Then again, you would have had that sense of stakes building, and you really want to see them beat the crap out of this monster by the end of it,
And to add on to your original point as well as his point, there's a big difference between American kaiju films and Japanese. We always point out that Japanese kaiju films always had a very important thing to do a more monster game. Have been just the opposite. We never knew where the monster game before the original film. Even if it was the 8 space or the aliens, we never got a sense of what these monsters had in origin. And that's in the American now we call them science fiction. Because it's a science fiction. Special effects, we got into man versus the creature thing. We never got to know why the creature was doing what it was doing.
Yeah, interesting. The other thing I would say, the big difference between Japanese and American is that even in this one, it's a military know-how will eventually destroy them. And in the Japanese, that wasn't always necessarily the case. I think you were.
Maybe when I get it.
That was actually, he kind of gave it a jolt of life about 2/3 of the way through, I thought.
What doesn't Perlman do? Perlman always gives a great performance.
Yeah, he pointed out some important pieces of exposition there. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see